Alright guys, tonight we're going to work on decimal operations. Let's start out with adding decimals. First thing is, for any whole number, the decimal point is to the right of the number or behind the number. So 48 is the same as 48 point nothing or 48.00. You're going to want to write your problem vertically with your decimal points lined up. So 48, decimal point here, 9.5. Notice the 9 has to go under the 8 and the 5 will go to the right. And 54.9, line up your decimal point again. And 0 and 2 hundredths, so 0.02. Now when you go back to add these, it may be helpful to fill in zeros when things don't have a number in that place value. 48 is the same as 48.0 or 48.00. Think of money. That's what $48 would look like. Same thing here and here. You can fill in zeros behind the decimal wherever you need to. Now we're going to add in columns. 0, 0, 0, and 2 is 2. 0, 5, 9, and 0 is 14. Carry your 1. Make sure you bring this decimal point straight down. 1 plus 8 plus 9, that's 18 so far, plus 4, that would be 22, plus 0, so 22. Put down your 2, carry your other 2. And then 2 plus 4 is 6, plus 5 is 11. So my answer should be 112 and 42 hundredths, or 112.42. Try one on your own. Don't forget to hit pause before you begin. Hopefully you got an answer of 171 and 38 hundredths. If you didn't, check your work and fix it. Second operation, subtracting with decimals. It's going to work the same way as adding. Make sure you put a decimal point behind any whole numbers and then line up your decimal point to do your subtraction. So 63 point minus 8.491. Now here's where a lot of people have trouble. You cannot just bring down the 4, the 9, and the 1 because then you're not subtracting them from anything. You're going to want to put zeros up above here and then do your subtraction. 0 minus 1 I can't do. I've got to go all the way over to this 3 in order to borrow. So this 3 becomes a 2. That makes this 0 into a 10. Now I can borrow from there. It's going to become a 9, which makes this a 10. Now I can borrow from there. It's going to become a 9, which will make this a 10. And now I can start doing my actual subtraction. 10 minus 1 is 9. 9 minus 9 is 0. 9 minus 4 is 5. Bring down that decimal point. 2 minus 8 I can't do. So I'm going to go to this 6. It becomes a 5, and that gives me 10 more here, so that's a 12. 12 minus 8 will give me 4, and 5 minus nothing is just 5. So my answer would be 54 and 509 thousandths. Be careful with that borrowing. It's time for you to try one on your own. Pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your answer. 47 and 2 tenths minus 23 hundredths should give you an answer of 47 and 7 hundredths. Pause and fix your work if you didn't get it. Time for multiplying decimals. When you multiply with decimals, you do not need to line up your decimal points. You're going to pretend that there's not even a decimal in the problem at all. So I'm going to treat this like it was a 78 times a 16. Or even 0.16 is fine as well. I'm going to do my regular multiplication. 6 times 8 is 48. Carry my 4. 6 times 7 is 42. Plus 4 would be 46. I'm done with that 4 up there. Now I'm going to move to the next number, which is this 1. So I'm done with this 6. I need to put a 0 placeholder, so I'm moving over. 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 7 is 7. Now I'm going to add these. 8, 14, carry your 1. and that would be 12. So it would appear that my answer is 1,248, but that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You've got to think about your decimal point. So now you go back to your original problem. There's one decimal place here, and there are two decimal places here. That's a total of 3 decimal places. So I want to make sure my answer also has 3 decimal places. So I'm going to start at the right and move in 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. My answer is 1 and 248 thousandths. That makes a whole lot more sense with the numbers I have here. It's time for you to try one. Be careful, work carefully, and count your decimal places. Pause and hit play when you're ready. You should get an answer of 0.0330. You also may write your answer as it shows here, because that last 0 is not holding the place for anything, so you can eliminate it from your answer. Moving on to dividing decimals, we're almost done. First, we're going to start with dividing by a whole number. So the first number goes inside of my long division. That's my dividend. And then my divisor is the second number, the way it was written out, and that goes on the outside. You're going to bring your decimal point straight up into your answer, and it's very important to make sure that you keep your work lined up for these division problems. 12 will not go into 4. You can put a 0, you can put an X, you can just leave a space, but make sure you pay attention to it. Then I have my decimal point, and now I'm going to work on 12 into 48. Well, that goes 4 times. 4 times 12 is 48. Subtract, I get 0. That's good. So now I'm ready to bring down this 6. 12 does not go into 6. I cannot ever bring something down without putting something up top. So when it doesn't go in, I have to put this 0 here. 0 times 12 is 0. Subtract, I still have 6, so I'm not done with this problem. I'm not allowed to have a remainder in a decimal problem. So I'm going to add a 0 here on my dividend and then bring it down. Now I can do 12 into 60. That goes 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. Subtract, I get 0. Since it terminated, I am now done. So my answer is 405 thousandths, or 0.405. Let's look at another one where my denominator, or my divisor, is a little bit larger. So 17.98 divided by 29. I'm still going to bring my decimal point straight up. Now when I do my division, you're going to want to be a little bit careful on how to take your guesses. 29 is not going to go into 1. I can think of it as a 0 or leave a space there. 29 into 17, that's still not going to go. So I'm all the way over here on 29 into 179. Well, 29 is kind of close to 30. So if I think about 179 being a little close to maybe 180, it seems like it should go 6 times. So over here to the side, I'm going to do 29 times 6. That's 54. And 12 for the 6 times 2. Plus 5, that would be 17. So that's 174. That's looking pretty good. I subtract, I get 5. That's lower than my divisor, so I'm good to move to the next number. I'm going to bring down my 8. 29 again is close to 30. 58 is close to 60, so it seems like this would go in twice. So let's try 29 times 2. 18, carry your 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. That's 58. Subtract, you get 0, so you're done with that problem. So your answer should be 62 hundredths. Time for you to try one. Please pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your work. You should have got an answer of 10 and 17 hundredths, or 10.17. Fix your work if you didn't get that answer. And the last one, dividing with decimals when we have a decimal as our divisor. So in this case, we're going to still write the problem as a long division, but we're going to make some changes to it. So we have 735 thousandths divided by 35 hundredths. You never want to work with a decimal number out in front, a decimal as your divisor. So what you're going to do is move this decimal point until that number is a whole number, a regular number with no decimals. So that's going to make it 35. Now in order to do that, I move 2 places to the right. So I have to also move this other decimal point in my dividend the same amount of places in the same direction. So I'm going to move it 2 places to the right as well. So my new problem becomes 35 going into 073.5. Now you'll notice we don't really need this 0 in the front. It's not holding the place for anything. So you can just think of it as 73.5 divided by 35. Now it's just like the previous problem. Bring your decimal point straight up and complete your division. 35 does not go into 7, but it does go into 73. It should be twice because I know that 35 times 2 is going to give me 70. Subtract and I get 3. That's low enough that I can then bring my next digit down. And 35 into 35, well, that's just 1. 1 times 35 is 35. I get 0, so I'm done with that problem. Don't forget you can also check your work. So my answer is 2 1/10. Last problem for me to show you, and then you're going to try one on your own. So in this case, we have 4 19 hundredths divided by 3/10. Again, I'm going to move this decimal on my divisor, and this time it only goes once to the right, so this one is also going to go once to the right. So now I have 41.9 being divided by 3. I'm going to bring my decimal point straight up and do my division like regular long division. 3 goes into 4 once, that's 3. Subtract, I get 1. That's low enough that I can bring down the next number. 3 into 11, that's going to go 3 times, which is 9. I subtract and get 2. That's low enough again, so I'm going to bring down my next digit. 3 into 29, well, 3 times 10 would be 30, so it's got to be very close to that. It should be 9. 9 times 3 is 27. I subtract and get 2. It didn't go in evenly, so I'm going to add a 0 to my dividend and bring it down so I can continue my division. 3 into 20 goes 6 times, which is 18. Subtract, I get 2. Add a 0 and bring it down. And what you'll start to notice is you're going to keep getting this same pattern of getting a 2 when you subtract. Then it becomes 20, goes in 6 times. It keeps repeating that. So it's going to be 6s forever and ever and ever. The way that we write that is to put a repeating bar, over the part that repeats. So my answer would be 13.96 with a bar over just the 6. Hopefully you've worked with those before. If not, you can review it and try again, or you can Google dividing with repeating decimals. Time for you to do your last homework problem for the night. Try number 5. Pause the video and hit play when you're ready to check your work. You should get an answer of 3 7/10. Now it's time for you to rate how you feel about decimal operations. Remember, if you give yourself a 1 or a 2, that you'll want to do some more review and maybe watch the video again.